evening, Leon. Good evening, Leon. Good evening, Jatin.
Pleasant good evening to you, Jatin, and of course, Dennis.
Good evening, Dennis and Leon.
Right. So, gentlemen, the World Cup has started, and it has certainly been very entertaining, exciting, and of course, a lot of disappointment for some, a lot of happiness for others. And it definitely is something that we have to keep our eyes on, because this is going to be one great series of matches. What are your thoughts?
Indeed, it has to be one of the greatest. I'm upset with the defeat of the West Indies to begin with. And of course, some of the other teams doing well. Some of the young guns, as it were, just came into the scene and they're making themselves felt. No longer can the other teams who are older teams who have been in the tournament before can take anything for granted. The younger teams are doing well. They have learned their games. Of course, it's just an idea that they go into each game with the feeling that they can upset. For instance, you have the other team, the Asian team. Yeah, I'm a little tight down there. Namibia. Yeah, it's Scotland Island, of course. And you can't deny the other teams. But Super 12 is here, and we will see. We'll wait and see what will be the outcome of the first round of matches.
Well, one of the very interesting facts or things about this particular World Cup is the fact that the West Indies did not make it through the first to the Super 12. And it is interesting that Scotland, Ireland, I'm sorry, I think it's Scotland.
No, Scotland, it's the Netherlands.
No.
Netherlands.
Apologies. Netherlands, Zimbabwe, and Ireland.
Yes.
Sri Lanka.
All made it through to the Super 12. But what is very important and interesting is that if we look at the last 10 T20 matches that these teams, Scotland, West Indies, Zimbabwe, Ireland, Netherlands played, their stats: Scotland won 3 of 10, meaning they lost 7. West Indies won 4, lost 6. Zimbabwe, they won 7 of their last 10. Ireland won 3, Netherlands won 4. So what I'm saying here is that of the 3 teams from this first round, Netherlands, Ireland, Scotland, West Indies, they were all in the same level of play in terms of how many they've lost. Yet, in the long run, we saw that the others who are not as experienced as test playing countries made it through, but the West Indies did not. Now that leaves a lot of questions to be asked. And we see that the West Indies, before they went out to Australia for this series, their last series of T20 matches was based on the CPL. And in the CPL, the batting stats, we had King, Mayers, Charles, Hetmeyer, and Powell in the top 6. Of course, Hetmeyer's not there, but King, Mayers, Charles, Powell are there. King has shown himself to be worthy of his spot. Mayers has failed terribly. Charles has shown that he has earned his spot. And Powell brings up the rear as he normally does. That's the disappointment, that we did not have any other batters bringing up or producing sufficient to help the West Indies in the batting department. In the bowling department, of course, Joseph in the CPL was top with Holder second and McCoy and Shepherd, Smith, Mears. They are all in the top, well, should we say 12 bowlers in the CPL. Mears, of course, was number 18, meaning he only took 8 wickets in the CPL this particular series. Yet Mears was called upon to bowl, open the bowling in not only the warm-up matches, but in 2 of our West Indies opening matches. So again, that points to some problems that the West Indians, either selectors, coaches, or management have with setting a task, setting a goal, and planning for this series. We saw that Ireland, Scotland, they were well prepared to play against the West Indies because they came with their playbook and they were not shy to show it, in the sense that Scotland, they had their paper and more than one player had their paper with their instructions and information written out in plain language for them to see. Now we have this batter, here's what we're going to do. The Irish, although we didn't see their papers, we could see by the way in which they attacked the West Indian bowling that they were equally prepared. Wide off the off stump, going away from the batters, and they too were successful in their preparation against the West Indies. They did their job. The West Indies, however, did not seem to have picked up on that type of preparation because they used the same format and they did the same, shall we say, bad shots in during the game. If we look at Scotland, Scotland match, West Indians 7 of the West Indian batters were out caught somewhere out, mostly in the deep. In the Zimbabwe matches, the West Indians had 5 were out by catches, and their only loss, I think, was 5 wickets. In the Ireland matches, all 5 West Indian outs were caught. The point I'm making here is that the West Indians seem to have this tendency to go for what they call their power hitting. And this brings to mind 1 year ago when Coach
Can we break in a
Simmons,
little here, Dennis? We forget what you say, so we can pinpoint some of what you're saying.
Okay.
We probably want to hear Dennis, not JT.
No, carry on, Dennis, finish your stuff.
Yeah. What I'm saying about the hitting is a year ago in the same T20 championship, head coach Simmons was quoted in an quick info article emphasizing that West Indies won't curb the natural style of play, which is based around power hitting. And he challenged the batters to find a way to succeed. Now that tells me that there is something not quite right as far as the coaching is concerned, when the coach is saying, we're not going to change our style of play, and I'm challenging my batters to go out and find a way to do the job. Quite clearly, they have done this in this series 2022, and it has failed miserably. At this point, Leon and Jatin, I will stop and allow you guys to come in with your observations and your comments. Those were my points of observation that I made at this so far. But what do you?
Jatin perhaps want to come in? Don't.
Well, this is the huge disappointment for the West Indian fans. because it's never happened like this. This is the first time West Indies knocked out from the main global event in the qualifier or first round. What it means at this point, West Indies has won 2 championships so far in T20, only team to have 2 championships. And now they're out. Top of that, if you look at geographically, it's only team represented in North, Central, and South America, western part of the globe. And we lost this battle. Going into the situation, this was, as I predicted last week, that if the West Indies don't play together as a team, this is going to happen. And it did continue. If you look at these 2 games, Scotland and Ireland, you can see on the field, there were a lot of issues for the coaches to understand. Even today, in a very second over, in a fielding, you can see the body language. They've given up. There is no point to blame anyone here at the moment. This is a total failure. Coaches knows this thing year back, and they're relying on players to fix it. Players knows that. I don't think they want to listen to anybody. And they want to keep continuing their own way as a personal performance as a top priority, because that is what they get bigger amount from the big T20s. And then there is administration issue too. Administration has to scratch the head why it's happened and why we are here today. So a situation, people may say it's a coaching, people may say it's a player. Administrators jump in and they say, we will investigate. But overall, it's in-house problem for everyone involved in West Indies cricket.
Okay, good. Yeah, I thought the West Indies lost the whole plot. Going to Australia where the boundaries are more or less longer, our batters are accustomed to be hitting over the top and covering the boundaries. It was not so. And what the opposition has known, I don't think the West Indies have planned to counter that, because they keep bowling outside of the off stump and full, and more or less they're not able to cover the fielders in the deep. For instance, today's match, where Mayers, who normally gives a good start, he was playing good until he went over the top. Puran did the same thing, and Powell did the same thing. And these are 3 main batters in the middle. We saw a good innings from King, but that was not sufficient. And look at the Irishmen today. They went and they played the ball in the merit and knock it around, knock it around, knock it around. And when the bad short ball comes, they put it away. And they're not going to feelers. They're going over the top. I feel again that we went in the team with Lewis. Lewis to me has always broken down. Always broken down. He couldn't run between the wicket. And that is another. And I thought perhaps that maybe they should have batted last. They should have chosen to field first today and just test out the opposition. Because Ireland was prepared. You could see they had a plan, and like you said, Dennis, they had the playbook that they used. They pulled it from their pocket, and they were able to use it to the effect that they reduced West Indies. West Indies made 30 runs fewer than that was expected to win a match of this caliber. All in all, I would say the bowling today did not even live up to the expectation because the Irish counted them. Here is the opener. He has been very, very instrumental in building big totals. The guy's experienced. He's there and done that. And they have to bowl him and bowl to his stumps and not give him any short pitch, no give him any width. The Irishmen were able to bowl just inside the line to prevent being called for wide, and was successful. When it comes to the rotation or the bowling, the bowlers that were supposed to be used in the opening overs, I thought should have been the speedster. Give Alzara Joseph, give Jason Holder. Keep telegraphing what the bowlers you're going to bring on. Hussein. Yes, he might have gotten a wicket or two, but today I thought that you should have adopted a policy to bowl the ball right inside the line and keep away from the short pitch deliveries, because the Irishmen were able to play the kind of deliveries. And Joseph was really not on target as he normally is. Holder was, but Holder should have been brought in a little earlier and see if they got a breakthrough, and that might have caused a couple more wickets to fall. But all in all, it was not a good display of the West Indies, and I think there's some heads has got to roll. I tell you, for one, the West Indies Cricket Board says they're going to examine or do something about it, as it were, but it's too late. That should have been done before. It definitely should have been done before. I just wait and see how many of these players are going to be retained, and how the young ones going to be brought into the camp and ready for next year T20 50 over World Cup. And that's my take so far. It's a bad day for West Indian fans around the world, and heads has got to roll.
Leon, one thing that you mentioned, Lewis. It's interesting to me that in this CPL, Lewis did not perform well enough to be in the top 20 of the batting stats.
Interesting.
So how is it that Lewis actually made it to the World Cup, and not just made it to the World Cup, but he ended up actually, he had what, two innings, or was it 3 innings of the matches?
Yeah, 3 innings.
So he certainly showed to me that his selection was somewhat on the, his selection was not
based on his past performance and not on what is current.
We can't base everything on past performance, and this is the same thing we've done with Older, supposed to have had a lot of past experience. Yet when the chips were down and we needed Holder to get in there and hold things together, he went in, flashed the willow a few times, but before you know it, he was going back to the pavilion. So depending on previous performance is not really the way to go. And as one person I heard said, if Nicholas Pooran has any sense, he would give up batting and stick to bowling. His run total is higher there.
Yeah.
That sums it up for Pooran. He has not. Go ahead, Leon.
I was gonna pick you up before I forget, because to criticize Holder, you're correct that his batting was off, but so too was the captain. The captain even worse. So, and Holder did not bowl badly at all. I would say he was right up there with Alzara Joseph, and he was one of our top pace attack. So his batting, all the batters have not lived up to expectation. So
My criticism, Leon, is not so much that he did not perform adequately in the bowling department, but the mere fact that he was rested, brought back, and since he's been brought back, his batting has not really shown that he was deserving of a place, in my opinion. Because when the chips were down, with the kind of experience that Holder has, and that many of us give as far as what he's contributed in the past, we anticipated that when the chips were really down, he would get in there and be that rock, steady the ship, and help to guide the younger, inexperienced players. But of course, he performed just as inadequately. And yes, Pooran in his batting has shown that since he took on the captaincy, he has failed to deliver in terms of his performance with the bat. And it makes me question whether or not, because last year he was the highest paid player from the islands in the IPL. His performance this year makes me wonder if he will have that same call when it comes to IPL next year. Back to you, Coach Jatin.
Well, first of all, West Indies is missing good team players. Let me put it this way. To win the championship, you need the team. And this is not the team. We see the leader, Holder, as a good player and ex-captain. But in my opinion, good team player is the one, not about criticizing and blaming others in the team, but they need to take the charge. Charity begins from home. Before you say someone about what their contribution or what they're doing in a team, they should have stepped up and do their job. And if you do that, then it can turn out to be the good. But now West Indies in a situation now, we're gonna hear this blame game for a few months, I will say, because nobody wants to take fault and have guts to say, it's my fault. I did not do well. I don't see that word yet from anybody. Everyone is pointing finger on somebody, even their own performance is down. That is what is going on.
Mhm.
I don't think there was a game. If you look at Ireland, they did the enough study for West Indies today. I think 18th or 19th over before we see that first six. I believe it's the 19th over or maybe the last ball of 18. Until then, Ireland, all bowlers, hold on to their slower speed compared to that normal speed because they know the attitude and mentality of this West Indies player who wants to go hard hit. So harder you bowl, you're going to get hit. The other way, if they can see the ball, they're going to smack it. Guess what they did?
Slow it up.
They know the problem. They stick with it, and that's the how I hold on to it. In that time, the West Indies forgot the basics.
Yes.
Instead of running the first single quick and look for the second, they were waiting on to have those big hits, and it did not happen.
Mhm.
And now if you're trying to change the gear in 18, 19, 20 over, it's too late.
Too late.
In today's world, when you're playing 220, I will say you must come out minimum 6 per over in a power play to begin with, without losing wicket. If you get more runs, it's a great. And then in a middle over, you can maintain that average 6 plus, and then you change the gear at the last. When you can't do that, this is happens, and that is what the Ireland will succeed. But anyway, this we're gonna continue as we said. So let's move on to the real World Cup. It's a congratulation to the teams like Netherlands and Ireland who made it, and it's also I will say, hard work pays off. That's what the Sri Lanka and Zimbabwe did. Even they lost, they came back and they fight for it. And now we are expecting that these 4 teams to get into the Super 12 will definitely have a upbeat. Some momentum is going with them, and they are super excited to compete. And that will definitely bring some excitement. And let's hope some of the confusion begins when they upset good teams on any given day.
Yes.
We should not take these new teams for granted. Like I said before, they are prepared and they look fearless. You know, they aren't going to be pushing around, shoving, and make. They're going to give. They are forced to be reckoned with. So none of these teams, India, Australia, England, notwithstanding, the Netherlands, all these teams are capable of upsetting a big team. I remember some years ago when it was Bangladesh who upset Australia. And, you know, these teams have coaches that are from, not of their own, but from other countries who know the game and they play. And Jatin talked about a good team player on the West Indies side. Whom do we have as a good team player? You see, we don't have anybody that we can look to and say, you have to steady the ship for me. They didn't have anybody to steady the ship, because if they see wickets are falling, you have to just disregard your type of play and just adapt to the condition. Like Jatin said, run the twos, put the pressure on the fielders. And once the pressure is on the fielders, they're apt to make mistakes, and you can get a couple or sometimes three. But my big point coming into the Super 12 is that none of these big teams should at least take it for granted that these underdogs, as it were, are going to just come and just give them their match easily. They're going to be fighting.
Well, let's look at how these, as we call them, Super 12 teams got to where they are today. Meaning Australia, they were the winners of the trophy, the last championship a year ago. And we know that Australia in their last 10 stat as far as T20 played before they got to the warm-up matches, they had won 6 of their last 10. We have New Zealand. They were the finalists last time round, and New Zealand won 9 of their last 10 before the warm-up matches. And so we can see right there where the form is sitting. England was a semi-finalist last year. England performed the worst in their last 10 T20 matches prior to this, because they only won 4 and they lost 6. Now we have Pakistan. Now, Pakistan was a semi-finalist last time around. And South Africa finished in the top 11 last time round. India was 3rd in the last championship a year ago, and Afghanistan finished in the top 8. Sri Lanka was 4th in their group last year, and automatically they qualified this year. Now, if we look at what may possibly transpire this year, if you're a betting man or a betting person, your money would most likely be on New Zealand, because they seem to be the team that has the momentum going into this tournament. Australia has most of the talk because they're the defending champions and they are playing at home. India, with 7 of they won 7 of their last 10 in the period that I'm discussing. And we know India behind their fantastic lineup means that Australia, New Zealand, England, they have their work cut out for them if they want to take India down. Pakistan, without a doubt, Rizwan and Azam has shown that when they get out in the middle, they are out there to stay. And so it is very, very interesting that we keep our eyes on the prize, because we know that Pakistan will give of everything they've got. We know that their arch rival, India, will obviously be out to top whatever Pakistan can do. England seem to think that they can do it, but they don't always have the ability to deliver. Australia has the swagger, and sometimes the swagger can play off when it comes to T20 cricket. Leon, your comments, please.
Okay, looking at the groups in position one, we have Afghanistan, Australia, England, New Zealand, and the A1. Who is determined to be the #1 team in the tournament in Group A? Is it? Can you tell me?
Group. Oh, you
Yeah.
mean of the Super 12?
Oh, the Super 12. Mhm.
Oh, okay. Quite likely, if you're asking me, I would say New Zealand with Australia a close second.
No. The two that came out of the qualifying. They have four
Okay.
teams in the
Yes, I accept that.
Afghanistan, Australia, England, and New Zealand. They're two teams.
Right.
Have they determined who is #1 in Group A?
Well, it
And,
would be, yeah, I think Sri Lanka was probably #1 in that group.
Okay, yes, that's right. Sri Lanka, and then in Group B, the second place team.
Group B, I think that might well be Ireland. Oh, the second place
Ireland.
team. Oh, in Group B? This,
Yeah.
are you talking about this team that finished second in Group?
Second in Group B of the qualifying team.
Yeah, so it's Ireland.
Ireland? Ireland
Yes.
comes second. Okay, Ireland. Okay. All right,
So we look at these numbers, and I will say there's a very competitive teams out there. And now it's a matter of few key matchup, like the Australia, New Zealand will be the important one. I think most important one is the India, Pakistan, which is coming tomorrow, just a very second day. And then we have some exciting matchup, I would say. Sri Lanka will be the lookout for. Don't go by, they have to go to qualifier, but they are coming from a good performance from Asia Cup. The most competitive cricket with the rosters we have for this World Cup, it should be India, Pakistan as a #1 game. And the second game I usually put is Australia, New Zealand. Now these two games winner, I would say they're going all the way. The reason for that, these are the strength of their bench, where you'll be tested from #1 to 11. There's a little bit shake up here. Pakistan's key bowler coming back from the recovery from the injury, the Afridi guy. And then they have the top 3 T20 batsmen at top. That's a Pakistan strength. But then they have a little bit weakness in the middle order and then in lower order, where India has a very good strength up to 6. And they are fortunate to have 3 wicket keepers in the side, and then plenty of bowling option, but they're gonna miss the Bumrah for sure. They'll definitely miss the Jadeja. It's another all-rounder. It can be a game changer for any given day in T20. But then they have new 2 bowlers, Harshal Patel, and they watch out for this young Arshdeep Singh, because he has thrown deadly bowler during the death overs. So that's a matchup. New Zealand is too strong on batting side. And if I have to rank the teams out of this World Cup, I think New Zealand has #1 team who has prepared, and they're like a professional for T20. Their playing style when they play 20, it's a completely different than all these teams we have in a World Cup. And any given time, if number 1, 2, 3, 4, one of them get going, means other team is done. Because these are the unstoppable players, and they have very good the method to attack the ballers way early, and that is their biggest advantage. But at the same time, you never know. Australia always has come back as a strong team, and this can be a change because in 15 years, no one has won T20 back-to-back, and Australia has a good chance to do that because they are playing at home. The rest of the teams has to look out for the weather. And by the way, the biggest concern will be compared to what these first round grounds we see. Now they are switching to that quality grounds. I call it A-grade grounds, which is much larger than what you can see everywhere else. So that will be the huge challenge to especially play in Brisbane, Adelaide. Melbourne is a huge ground. World's largest ground is the Melbourne in terms of the long distance fences. And then you got Sydney. So any team playing against those large fields, it will be tested for any high shots because anything goes in air, it's a catchable because it's a huge space for the fielders to run around. So that's the thing is force the people to go for more singles and doubles, which requires more fitness. So let's see who comes out with the good to move on to this tournament.
Jatin, just one factor there. You said no team has won the World Cup back-to-back. Wasn't it?
No, not in T20.
Oh, West Indies didn't win it in 12 and 16?
They won the two, but at the two different years, 12 and 16. There is in between some World Cups. When we say back-to-back is like, when we say back-to-back is like when West Indies won 1975 first World Cup, and they won the second in 1979. That is what we're looking at.
But did they have
none of the country has won this?
Anything between 212 and 216?
Yes, there was. They play every 2 years.
Oh, every 2 years. That's correct. Okay. Yeah, okay then. Yes, okay. So this
so
4
that's
years.
what the Australia has a strong chance. They can be the first team in a T20 world history to have win it back-to-back. But again, the hurdles are there because they're going to face a lot of challenges.
Australia's got a good chance to win it back-to-back. Warner is in form, I tell you. And they have some good striker. Yeah, the new guy, David, is one that just came in this season. And most of the players still haven't gotten their peak form set. And like Dennis said before, they are at home. They know their grounds. They still have their top pace attack. And they are forced to be reckoned with. And I like to see how they use Zampa. Zampa has not been used like how the West Indies use Walsh. They put him in the limelight, put him into the fire, and he has always bring them some result. So I definitely feel that Australia is a strong contender. But India has proven that and shown that they have gone to Australia and can beat them in Australia. So that is something new. But like you said, Jatin, Jadeja is going to be missed.
Yeah.
And of course, Boomer.
But again, when you say all these South Asian teams, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Afghanistan, they have very good strength in the bowling in terms of the spinners and slow bowlers. Now, that is what the weakness comes when you're playing in a country like Australia and you're playing T20, means you have to go for the runs. And that is what is tricky. So does Australia. They bring, I believe, Zampa, they have it. Maxwell is there. They also bring in now Green, who can bowl slow balls. And don't forget the Smith himself can bowl.
Yeah.
So in other words, I will not be surprised if we see the slow and spin bowlers between 6 to 16 in almost every game. And that will be the game changer. Believe it or not, it's not about power play. It's not about how you finish. All the games will rely on what they do between 6 to 16 overs.
What I think going to be a great factor in this World Cup too is the standard of fielding. Fielding going to play an important part of this, and the innovation in batting, because they're going to be setting fields to prevent them from scoring the boundaries. And these guys are going to invent some shots that can just, upset the plans of the opposition. So don't be surprised you see some real innovation in the batting and some outstanding fielding. And I don't think that pace might be good, but I don't think pace is going to be a big factor, because most of the teams now can play pace, but most of the teams can't play spin. And India, in having quality spinners, can be the trump card. And Sri Lanka having won the Asia Cup, that could be giving them some confidence. Say, we have beaten India, so we can conquer the others around the world. So I pick right now, I pick Australia, India, and don't count out England. England has gotten some batters. They can also wield the willow. So that is my take so far.
Well, I will say the two things gonna happen in almost every game as a benchmark. Whoever can contain the other team from scoring and doing the better fielding are the winner, as plain and simple. It's a matter of 3 hours of job. Whoever can stick with basics. And if you come out with these simple methods on the field, you can turn around. Otherwise, every team out there has enough potential batters and enough potential fielders. But it all relies on what you do in this particular game.
Coach and Dennis, Coach and Dennis, ask a question before we forget it. What total you feel is going to be the margin or minimum total that could be defended in this World Cup by the teams batting first?
It's not there is a simple formula, because these totals can be decided by the ground size, the ground condition, the pitch condition. So there's a lot of factors rely, and usually we can say, or you can see the commentators when they inspect the pitch at that time, they make some predictions, because this will be the fresh pitches prepared for the World Cup. And first game, I will say it will be a little bit tricky, because it will give it to the more advantage to the fast bowlers with some grass on the wickets. But as the tournament progresses, we will see lower and moderate scores. So even though I will say you have to be in the range of 160 to 200 to be competitive. And if you want to win it outright, then make sure you hit 200 for sure, and then tighten up. Don't let the other team to go more than 7 or 8 per over.
It appears to me that the decisive count on the day will depend on how the wicket play in that particular first inning, because there are times when a team batting first may end up not scoring as many runs as they could, even though the wicket is playing very well, simply because the bowler and the opposite side have got the better of them. So in terms of predicting a high score, I would say it is very difficult at this point. And the only time that one can safely make that prediction is when you see the first inning of a match. You can always gauge roughly what total will be enough to challenge the opposition. So in that one, I'm not going to try to
First match coming up. The first match coming up. England, Australia
hours.
versus New Zealand.
3 hours, yes. Yeah.
In an hour ago, in an hour's time, right? Is it not 12 o'clock?
No, it's not yet, but it's 4 a.m. in the morning.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
12
Our
your
time in New York.
Mm.
Yeah, our time in New York.
Well, no,
Oh, okay.
12. It's
12
Plus, the
hour
12.
time,
big
yeah.
thing, the big
Eastern
thing is
Standard.
that Australia is a huge country, like the
Oh,
USA,
yes.
east to west. And I can tell you, if you are on the western side, like a Gaba, Perth, that has a more dry and heat, and the pitches are hard, so you can expect the fast bowlers can take advantage over there.
Yeah.
If you go middle of the US, middle south, which is your Brisbane and Adelaide part, which can be either way, but more you go towards the southeastern part of the Australia, where the Sydney and Melbourne both can give some spin and the quicks. So there is a lot of combination is there because of the local weather, also a factor. So it's not about what we can expect as an average score, but this World Championship, I will say, we will see the new highs in almost all games because game has been progressing well. We can see the associate country or these new full-time member like Afghanistan and Ireland is coming up, and they are challenging now the traditional teams much better than what they used to do 4 years or 8 years back. So what we will see is every team has changed, let's say from the last year, and we're going to see something new. And one of the things is they want to perform better and score more runs. So that's what you're going to see. A lot of scores and a lot of new records will be possible in this World Cup because that's how these things are nowadays. Every batsman go out there and want to quick score.
Coach,
Well,
the Irish team, I was very, very impressed with their approach. The thing about it was Balburney and I think it was that Sterling?
Sterling.
Yeah, Sterling.
No,
Yeah,
we
Sterling.
saw Sterling in the CPL, and his performance in the CPL left a lot to be desired in terms of his production. Yet he comes out there against the West Indies and he was like a lion. Do you think that's because of his experience facing those bowlers during his time at CPL, why he was so ferocious and so well comfortable facing the West Indians in this match?
Now, that's a good question. But if you look at the style, let's compare just today's game. When Roman Powell was batting, you can see the way he was moving from the stumps before the bowlers bowl. And what happened because of that, some of the balls you can see like that could have been wide, but the umpire did not give a wide because he already moved from your normal stance. If you look at the Sterling, the entire inning, he did not make any move. He was staying firm on his natural stance and was waiting for the bowler to come out at him. And who took advantage? Where West Indies playing the different game. And even like lately, when the Andrew Russell was scoring high in IPL, you can see his stance wide, changing his feet movement before even ball is delivered like that. And that is an ongoing thing in West Indies. They are trying to change normal stance to a position where they can hit the ball hard. And that has been failed in this tournament. Where this team like Ireland, Namibia, Netherlands, if you look at them, they are playing smart cricket. They are not getting you like a trap by the bowler. They are standing in their normal stance, then waiting for the bowler to come out to them, and then they play their own shots. And that is what the Sterling did today. Anything came to the body, it went for the square. Anything on the leg, either he let it go or who score runs. Anything off, he managed to hit it without putting the ball in the air too much. And that was the beauty.
Yes, indeed.
Very true. Very true.
But I was wanted to just piggyback a little bit on the Australia and New Zealand. And that encounter is going to be tomorrow at Sydney. So I look forward to a great battle here between these two teams. It's not too different in Australia than close to New Zealand, right? And I don't think that the pitches would pose any problems to the New Zealand. They can upset the Aussies at home, but that's a big call. Who knows what will be the outcome?
So with that, we can say to the listeners and viewers, this is on behalf of the Cricket Show USA, myself, Jatin Patel, Denise Heath from Los Angeles, and Leon Francis, our president from the Florida. And we will be doing these regular shows, but the next show is expected on Sunday, immediately after that Cricket Show normal weekly schedule. Meantime, you can visit us or call in for radio show if you want to discuss any point or topic or something. Till then, I will say, let's enjoy the World Cup and good night, everyone.
Good
And
night.
one thing,
Good night.
one thing,
Dennis,
let's give the email address for those who are not able to call us. That's the Cricket Show at Comcast.net. The Cricket Show at Comcast.net. Send us your questions and comments, and we'd be happy to try and address them during one of our next broadcasts. Thank
and
you.
we have the
Dennis,
website, cricketshow.org.
Okay.
Cricketshow.org is our website where you can see all videos. And we also have a link to our audio section of the B-Log Talk Radio, which we do every Sunday since 2010, 6 to 9.
Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern
And the
Standard.
number is 1-515-605-9850. Again, 1-515-605-9850. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a blessed evening. Look forward to talk about the game tonight in another forum.
All right. Thank you. Good
Thank
night,
you all,
Leland.
and good night,
Good night.
everyone.
Good
Good night,
Coach.
everyone.
Yeah.